Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a nuestra conferencia AUDIRE, Evidencia Experimental sobre el impacto del escepticismo profesional y la corrupción en las decisiones de denuncia de irregularidades de los auditores, caso Colombia. Hoy nos acompaña Medhat Endrawes, doctor en auditoría de la Universidad. Actualmente se desempeña como profesor asistente del Departamento de Ciencias Contables de la Pontificia Universidad Javeriana. Profesor Medhat, lo escuchamos.
Muchas gracias. Good afternoon or good evening. Thank you very much for coming and attending the meeting or these presentations. My name is Medhat Endrawes. This particular paper or research, it's with two professors from Javeriana University, Natalia Paracado and Jenny Sosa. So the experiment, it's about the relationship between professional skepticism, and we're going to define this soon, and corruption, and its relationship to whistleblowing, and I'm going to explain the meaning of whistleblowing. It is about Colombia, so the study is conducted in Colombia. Okay, the purpose of the study is to see if professional skepticism of
Profesor, discúlpame, es que no vemos tu presentación.
So, escucha?
We listen, yes, but we don't see the presentation.
Oh, okay, Professor. You don't see the presentation?
No,
Okay.
we see the screen, but no the presentation.
Professor Jenny, you can see it now?
No,
Okay. I'm not sure I can see it here. It's sharing. You are sharing the screen. Let me say stop sharing and I share it again. Okay. Can you see it now, Professor Jenny?
yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we're looking at whether to see if professional skepticism and corruptions really change the internal external whistleblowing in Colombia. So whistleblowing is so important because it's when you see something wrong, you need to talk about it, which is make the environment much better and more ethical. So we have 2x2 experiment design, and I'm explain this. 2x2, it's mean we have two independent variables, which is professional skepticism, high and low, and corruption, which is present and absent. And we did we have a story which I show it to you soon about this manipulation or this level of manipulations. This study we use 109 auditors from Big Four in Colombia, and it's include auditors from Bogota, Cali, and Medellin, and the big three cities in Colombia. So with respect to data collection, we collect the data on the 28th of November. Professor Jenny really was looking after that. And we have, as you know, probably auditors from Big Four meet, I think, from time to time and discuss auditing issue and other issue. So in that particular meeting, Professor Jenny created QR code, and we got permission to collect the data. So the auditors who are used in this experiment, junior auditors, which is like 1 year or less experience, 28% of the 109, and we also have 32% were 1 year and to 3 years experience, and 28% was audit managers, 18% were audit partners. So this combination of experience was really useful to make sure we have the opinion of different level of auditors. So in order to measure whistleblowing, we followed previous studies, such as PARC 2005. And this particular study divided the whistleblowing into two: internal reporting of wrongdoing and external reporting of wrongdoing. And this is how we measure the professional skepticism. So when we talk about internal whistleblowing, we talking here about blowing the whistle or talking about the problem or illegal act to people from inside the organization. For example, talking to another partners. This is internal whistleblowing. So other questions about you talking to outside people, as you can see here. If you would like to blow the whistle to someone outside of the organizations, then you can do that, and we call it external whistleblowing. So trying to see whether Colombian auditors, when they see something wrong, are they going to blow the whistle internally to internal people within the organizations, or they blow the whistle to external people outside the organization, such as government, professional bodies, and so forth. As I said before, the professional skepticism, we have it through two levels. There is some case where we make sure the story say professional skepticism is high, and there is another story where we say the professional skepticism is low. So how we did that in the experiment, When we have in the law professional skepticism, we said in the story this that the company, which is in the story, probably if we have time, I will show it to you on different file, has effective internal control, and they have no related party. And when the audit partners talk to the management and ask the management some questions, the explanation of the management, it really makes sense, and it's representing truth about the company. So in this case, the auditor not going to be skeptical. Okay. On the other hand, if we would like to talk about high professional skepticism, in the high professional skepticism, we said ineffective internal control. So the company which we auditing, or auditors auditing, which we call it the client, they have ineffective internal control, and they have related party. Related party means like associate company, subsidiary company, and the literature or the research show when we have related party, likely there is a possibility of fraud in the financial statement, because a related party created to most of the time to have something, or to make something is wrong, or to show something or illegal. They talk to the management of the company, they really high skeptical about the explanations. So this is how we created one scenario or one condition where the professional skepticism is low, and another condition where we have high professional skepticism. With respect to corruptions, we try to say there is present corruptions or absent corruptions. In the condition where we have corruptions present, we mention in the story to the auditor there is unusual, unjustifiable transactions, which is considered against the Colombian regulations. So that's showing that there is something wrong. But even though it's something wrong against Colombian regulation or rules or law, the company consider this is okay. On the other hand, in the other story, when we say there is no corruptions, we said that the auditors or senior auditors did not find any unusual or suspicious transactions. So in that situation, we have no corruptions. It's the financial statement look okay, and we'll see the auditor reactions in that situation. So we analyze the data using SPSS. Now we're using analysis of variance because we're using experiment. So we have to use analysis of variance, which you call it ANOVA. And we use, in order to make more testing and understand more about the data collection, we also perform a simple test using SPSS. So our findings or our result indicate that significant relationship between professional skepticism, corruptions, and the internal whistleblowing. Generally speaking, whistleblowing really was important in Colombia. Suggesting that when there is skepticism, if the auditor is skeptical and there is corruptions, so likely the auditors in Colombia going to blow the whistle internally rather than externally. On the other hand, there is no significant relationship between professional skepticism and external whistleblowing. Like, if the auditor is skeptical, is still not going to blow the whistle outside, but rather prefer internal whistleblowing. In other words, talking to the management, talking to colleagues, and so forth, rather than talking to outside people, which could be like a culture thing in Colombia. I would like to talk about what we mean by professional skepticism and whistleblowing and corruptions. So professional skepticism defined in the literature from prior studies about question mindset. You always alert to fraud, to error. So collect a lot of evidence. So the auditor who's skeptical do a lot of work. The auditor who's skeptical, they always never trust. So if I say 1 + 1 = 2, the skeptical auditor is not going to believe me. So they're going to check. In the literature, there is some researcher, they distinguish or make two types of skepticism. As you can see there, intention. So I could have intention, but I'm not skeptical. So in my mind, I am skeptical, but in my action, I'm not skeptical. So therefore, we have action professional skepticism, and we have intention professional skepticism. So I don't like to go in details in this because it's really get very complex, but that's an idea about professional skepticism. So if the auditor is skeptical, usually in simple way, do not trust. So if I say to you something, you're not going to believe me. You have to check. After that, you could believe me or not. Whistleblowing is about reporting misconduct. And as I mentioned before, so when you see something wrong in your organization, you need to report it. And it is required by the international standard of auditing. So if you're not reporting, this is really bad audit or bad quality. So in US and Australia and Canada and UK, you should blow the whistle when you see something wrong. Maybe in Colombia is different. Maybe I know, for example, in some culture like China culture, Japanese culture, African culture, they really have that protection. They don't like to blow the whistle. Maybe in Colombia, similar situations. So as I discussed before, we have two types of whistleblowing, which is internal and external. How we define corruption in our study is about personal gain. So personal in the organization trying to get personal benefit by doing something wrong. So because we're talking about financial statement here, so we defined corruption as manipulation of the financial statement, so making something wrong. Now you have some idea without having a lot of talk about these variables, but you have an idea what is professional skepticism, what is whistleblowing, and the type of whistleblowing, internal, external, and we have the corruption, which is it's trying to manipulate the financial statement to gain personal benefit. So why are we doing this study? What's the importance of it? The motivation of the study? Well, one of the motivation is we include in the research culture theory, specifically power distance and individualism, collectivism, which is coming from Hofstede theory. So Colombia is really a low power distance and a high collectivism. For example, what I mean by power distance, the distance between the person in the organization and his or her boss, it's really big. So according to Hofstede, South American countries such as Colombia, this power distance is really high. So in other words, people have a lot of respect to their bosses here in Colombia. And this is good impact on whistleblowing, could be related to whistleblowing. So sometimes if I see something wrong, I'm scared to report it internally or externally. And if I can report it internally, unlikely I'm going to report it externally. What we mean by collectivism, individualism, some cultures such as Western culture, Europe, Australia, America, they are individualism because they would like to work alone. They would like to be more independent. Friendship is not important. The work is more important. On the other hand, with respect to collectivism, in that situation, some culture would like to protect each other. For example, I'm working in Javeriana and I try to look after my colleagues in Javeriana. So we defend each other, we protect each other. So this is, according to Hofstede, found in African culture, Middle Eastern culture, Chinese culture, Asian country culture, and also South American culture. So I'm using this particular theory to explain the whistleblowing situation in Colombia. Why we're using Colombia? Well, first of all, we don't know anything about Colombia with respect to international research. So we have no idea whether the auditor blew the whistle or not. And we tried to see if there is protection for blowing the whistle. So if I blow the whistle, I'm going to be in trouble, or I have protections. And also in Colombia, and usually in South America in general, there is high level of corruption according to prior research. There is weak law enforcement. So in other words, we have law, but are we applying this law? So in some countries, following the law is so important, and some other country they have the law, but unfortunately they don't apply this law. So there is a lot of research about whistleblowing, but all the research which is published in different country. No research about whistleblowing in Latin America in general. We don't know anything about whistleblowing. So we know a lot about whistleblowing in Australia, in Canada, in USA, in Europe, but we have no idea about Latin America or South American country. So this particular study will be the first to report about blowing the whistle in Colombia and in South America. And hopefully in the future, we expand this type of a study. So the other reason or the motivation for doing this paper is we need or we should provide guidance for governor's body in Colombia, for board of directors, on how to deal with corruptions, fraud, and in order to make sure we follow United Nations Sustainability Development Goal number 16, which is we need to fight corruption, we need to get rid of the corruption, we need to make sure the financial statement has no fraud at all. So it is so important to conduct such a study. So our study really gives guidance to regulations, to improve regulation in the organizations, and to improve the financial statement as well. So we're going to have high quality financial statement. So we try by giving this information to organizations, to professional bodies and so forth. They need to implement or to create some policies, law to related to whistleblowing, because it will improve the financial statement and the culture in the organizations. So we looking at prior literature, and we applied to Colombia, we predict that internal whistleblowing could be affected by skeptical auditors. So we said here, auditors who are who have high professional skepticism are more inclined to report misconduct to internal authority, because we're talking about internal whistleblowing. And the finding is supported. So in other words, we'll find that skeptical auditors, I'm going to show you now some statistical analysis, usually try to blow the whistle specifically to internal authority. So which is mean greater professional skepticism are better at reporting misconduct during the audit, which is likely to improve the quality of the financial statement. The second hypothesis, which are also related to, or the second prediction, which is related to internal whistleblowing, we said when we have corruptions, likely the auditor blow the whistle internally, which is supported too. So, so in other words, if the auditor see corruption in the financial statement or in the company in general, they likely to blow the whistle internally, so within the organizations. With respect to external whistleblowing, we predict that the same as the internal whistleblowing, skeptical auditor likely to blow the whistle, which is supported as well. So again, the skeptical auditors likely to blow the whistle internally and also externally. So skepticism may become very important variables here. On the other hand, which is surprising result, when we have corruption, no external whistleblowing. So it seems like people don't like to report to corruption to outside, but when they likely to report it inside the organizations. So it seems like corruptions is not that important for external whistleblowing. So if an auditor sees something wrong, some corruptions, they not going to report it to outside people, which could be culture things, which is again going back to power distance, which we discuss, culture theory, and also collectivism, individualism. And that's how we explain this particular finding and this particular result. So a very interesting result, as you can see. So I would like to talk about the conclusion implication, but I'm going to expand this because, usually when I do presentation and conferences, we have only 20 minutes. So I usually try to summarize the paper quickly, and then, but I'm going here to expand and give you more details because we have time. So, so the conclusion from this particular result is that professional skepticism, it's really important for both internal whistleblowing and external whistleblowing. However, corruption is not that important as professional skepticism. So in other words, this result telling us it is important in order to blow the whistle externally or internally, we should have auditors who are skeptical. So that's very important, whether internally or externally. So this particular finding, it is showing that auditing firm, when they employ auditors, they need to measure professional skepticism of this particular auditors. And this is what's happening in many Western countries. So Big Four auditing firm, such KPMG and others, they have exam for new graduate to make sure they are skeptical. Because as you can see, skepticism from this particular study is so important to report corruptions and also to report wrongdoing in general. I'm not sure about here, Colombia, if Big Four really they do that test of professional skepticism. But nowadays in other countries, which is I'm aware of, they teach students to be skeptical. While some research argue this is impossible because to be skeptical, it's just a personality thing. Like some people are nervous, some people are skeptical. It's a personality. How are you going to teach it? But I'm aware of some universities overseas. They really teach students to be more critical and more skeptical. And in order to help in these situations. And there is a lot of study found professional skepticism is so important in many aspects of the audit, such as high quality audit and so forth. If we talk about blowing the whistle, it is important to blow the whistle. And this result of our study, it's saying it is important because we expecting we reduce the cost which is associated with reporting wrongdoing. In other words, if there is problem in the financial statement and we're not going to report it, will cause a lot of money to organizations. And many of the corporate collapse, which we heard about in the last 20 years, is one of the reasons of the corporate collapse is professional skepticism, and there is no blow the whistle. So auditors see the problem and ignore it because they're not skeptical enough. Okay. In culture with high collectivism and power distance, such as Colombia, maybe the people hesitant to report misconduct because they fear of you are really stepping your colleagues in your back. So I did ask one of my students, or a couple of my students in the past in Javeriana, I said, if you see your colleagues cheating in the exam, are you going to tell me, or are you going to keep it quiet? And because this is reporting your colleagues about something they're doing wrong, it's really culture thing. And maybe they consider it's impolite or unacceptable. So this is the same here in that particular situations. So culture really impact on the decision to blow the whistle or not to blow the whistle. So I would like to show you some statistical analysis here. This particular table, I'm not going to spend much time on it. This is about auditor internal whistleblowing decision. So we have some descriptive statistic where we have professional skepticism is high and professional skepticism is low, and we have corruption present and we have corruption absent. So this is give us some information. This is give us the mean of professional whistleblowing, internal whistleblowing, and these are standard deviations, and here the number of auditors in each situations. When we did the ANOVA or analysis of variance, we tried to see if professional skepticism really increase internal whistleblowing. And we can see from this statistical analysis, it does. So skeptical auditors likely to blow the whistle internally. The same for corruptions. When there is corruptions, auditors are likely to blow the whistle internally. However, when we add professional skepticism and corruption together, we did not find any result, which is very interesting. So in other words, if there is corruption plus the auditor are skeptical, it doesn't really make any changes to internal whistleblowing. The second table here of the analysis, which is external whistleblowing. Here we're talking about external. We did the same. We have descriptive statistic, mean, standard deviation, and sample size. And this figure, tell us some story. But the more important thing is the ANOVA, analysis of variance. We put a skeptical auditor and see if he's going to blow the whistle. Actually, he or she did not. As you can see, it's not significant at all. So in other words, there is no relation between professional skepticism and external whistleblowing. Corruptions, yes, it's important actually. So when there is corruptions, maybe there is some reporting, okay? But when we add them together, we find a significant level as well. I mean, if the auditor see skeptical and they can see corruption in the financial statement or in the company, they're likely to blow the whistle. So in order to know why this result is significant when we have corruption and professional skepticism, as you know, if you remember, professional skepticism high and low, and corruption is present or absent. So which one is it high professional skepticism or low professional skepticism really get that significant result or make external whistleblowing important? Or is it related to corruption? So we did more testing here in order to understand this relationship. And you can see the first one, when we have corruptions plus high skepticism, really making this result, which is significant result. So this telling us if there is corruption and there is skepticism, likely the auditor going to blow the whistle externally. So the two together, it's important. But if you look at the previous paper, previous analysis, when we talk about internal whistleblowing, we did not find any result at all. So in other words, if the auditor is skeptical and there is corruptions, the auditor not going to report it internally, but they report it externally. Very interesting in Colombia. This is showing to us, confirm the table 3 here, which is the relationship between professional skepticism, corruption, and external whistleblowing. You can see here we're talking about external whistleblowing. So tell us the same result as in table 3. So I just would like to show you the scenario which we have used in this particular study. It is about a company in Colombia. It's a hypothetical situation. So I just leave you to read a story. I'll give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes to read the story. And we're going to continue so you have understanding of the experiment which is we conducted. So I give you 2-3 minutes to read this, please. Okay, we'll move on to the second paragraph. Okay, we'll move to the third paragraph. And then fifth paragraph. As you can see in this paragraph, we have high professional skepticism and low professional skepticism. This is so in different scenario. One time we mentioned high professional skepticism where the internal control has a problem. Another word, ineffective internal control or bad internal control, and with the related party. And we said there is also always a relationship between related party and fraud. So also the explanation by management to the audit partners, it's not convincing. So all these factors make the auditor, according to the literature, skeptical. On the other hand, when we have low skepticism, we said the internal control is effective. We have no material related party, and also the audit partners very confident about the explanation of the management. So we have one time a case about high professional skepticism, and another case, low professional skepticism. Okay. I'll give you 2 minutes to read this part. As you can see here in red writing, we manipulated the corruption to yes or no. So in the yes, corruption or presence of corruption, we said the senior auditor identified some transaction that are unusual or no justification for these transactions. So it's considered this type of transaction consider breaching the Colombian regulations. On the other hand, when there is no corruption, we said the transaction are considered legal and no suspicious or no unusual transaction found by the senior auditors. So again, we're going to have case with this corruption and another case with no corruptions. So this is the last paragraph. This is the decision by the senior auditor and the audit partners. What they going to do? Are they going to report to the situation or not? So I leave you 1 minute to read it. Okay. Then we try to measure internal whistleblowing. And we ask it this, based on the information provided in the case, please relate your assessment of the following statement. So if you were Joe, the senior auditor, responsible for deciding to report the situation to the management of the company, or you would reach to the audit committee. So you're going to report it to the audit committee of the company. And we have a scale 1 to 7, highly unlikely or highly likely. So if the auditor choose 6 or 5 or 7, they're going to likely to blow the whistle to internal people such as audit committee. So here we change it to colleagues, if his colleagues. So rather than your colleagues, what you're going to do? Are you going to report it to the audit committee? And the reason for using this question, which is the same as the first one, except we're saying here you, if you, but if his colleagues. So in research, just to make there is no social problem, would try to say your friend, your colleagues, and we'll see the result. Okay. Here we're saying if you were Joe, the senior auditors, are you going to do the reporting, the internal reporting to the another audit partners in the audit firm? So here we're just measuring internal whistleblowing. With respect to external whistleblowing, we say here, if you were Joe, the audit partners, responsible for deciding to report the situation, what is your probability that you would report to the channel outside, see here, outside the auditing firm? So in other words, external party. And 1 to 7 to measure professional skepticism. Actually, this should be external, my apology. So this is external whistleblowing, not internal. The second question which we use, are you going to report it through social network? You know, that's external as well. So if highly likely, 7 or 6 or 5, likely the external whistleblowing. Okay. This is abstract of the experiment, and I share you the story of this particular experiment which we design, and maybe some of you will be motivated to do research using experiment method in the future about any topic, not just whistleblowing or professional skepticism. So So now I finish my presentations, and muchas gracias, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm more happy to answer it for you.
Gracias, profesor Medhat. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Bueno, creo que no hay preguntas, profesor Medhat, no questions.
Okay, no problema. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, profesor, muchas gracias, profesor Medhat, por su conferencia y a todos por acompañarnos en esta primera sesión de nuestro ciclo de conferencias AUDIRE. Como siempre, los esperamos dentro de 15 días en una nueva sesión con un nuevo tema. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Nidia. Gracias, profesor Medhat.
Con gusto.